So hello, all four of you. Thanks for joining us for our Tuesday community chats. As you know, I'm Eli Beckman. I'm the mayor. We've got town manager Todd Cusimano. We've got assistant town manager and town clerk Rebecca Vaughn. We've got fire chief Ruben Martin, and we've got our interim Parks and Rec director Rochelle Gretschman Dibley on the line here to answer any questions that folks may have. Rochelle, am I saying your last name right? Okay, great, excellent. So we're here to give quick updates and then answer any folks and chat about whatever you guys might want to talk about. I don't think that I have too much in the way of updates. We had a council meeting last week, and the two kind of big items that we discussed. Well, we approved the budget, so that was big. And then the two items that we discussed were a little discussion about the roof line of the town hall remodel, but that project has already been substantially approved. So no major changes to the overall parameters of the project there. And then we also got into a much longer than expected discussion about garbage rates. As I would imagine most of the folks on the line know, MVRS came to us looking to raise rates again. This was, I think, a much smaller, more reasonable rate, but I think residents expressed some concerns with the way it fit into a pattern of much larger rate increases. So there's, discussion there about, just kind of looking at what is the justification behind these rate increase requests? What is the level of service that residents receive? How does it stack up to level of service and costs of neighboring jurisdictions? So I thought we had a really wide-ranging and productive discussion there, and I think it's going to be the basis for maybe looking at broader horizons as we move towards the end of our 20-year contract with MVRS in 2026. So we'll see where that discussion goes as that time approaches. And I will just check with staff to see if we have any other quick updates before we turn it over to the public here. Yeah, Ruben.
Thank you, Mayor Beckman. Members of the community, as many of you are aware, we put out a next door message saying that we've partnered with Central Marin Police Authority and created these evacuated tags that are now available to be picked up at all of your fire stations and your local Central Marin Police Station. And they're designed for if you get an evacuation order and you're told to leave your home, you can quickly tie this onto your doorknob or mailbox or somewhere that's visible from the street, which will help your first responders make a quicker and more efficient evacuation sweep through a neighborhood. It'll definitely speed up the process. So feel free to come by any of the stations and we'll have them here for you with instructions on how to assemble them or display them. And then we're also working with Rachel Kurtz, our NRG coordinator, to try to see if we can't hand them out to all the block captains. So that way they can assist us with getting them distributed throughout the community. And that's all I have, boss.
Great, thank you, sir. Any other updates from staff? And just want to say hi to RJ, our Public Works Director, and Adam Wolf, our Planning and Building Director, and we'll go to RJ.
Yeah, just a quick update. If you were experiencing or seeing any traffic backups at Madera and Tamalpais this afternoon, we had a traffic signal pole get hit in one of our medians right there. So we have a maintenance electrician out there and they should have it fixed within a couple hours, but we do have some left turn pockets closed just to keep everything safe.
Great, thank you, sir. Any other updates?
RJ, can you just give we have at the upcoming council meeting, as we hit the summer, there's a bunch of really exciting public works projects going on or about to start. Can you just share that with the community?
Yeah,
and
sure.
Also your PG&E undergrounding discussion that you're working on as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of on the theme of annual projects, we've got a pavement rehabilitation project that's happening. That consists of all the Inner Cove and one over kind of by Madera del Presidio off of there, Meadow Ridge. We have a sewer rehabilitation project that is mostly the kind of Granada Park area, El Camino, Granada, and some other streets. Starting up probably a little before that in a couple weeks is we have a Paradise Drive sidewalk widening project. So that's on the north side of Paradise Drive across from the Nugget Market. We're widening that sidewalk to about 8 feet to improve with accessibility for all the kids that use it to bike to the schools and whatnot. And then, as Todd mentioned, as part of the climate adaptation assessment. We had some identified strategies on there and some that we kind of viewed as near-term strategies. And so we'll be bringing 2 items to council at the next meeting. One is a project that's actually we had some grant funding many years ago, actually 2010, that it took a while to get in the prior staff's workload. And then we kind of hit the pause button as we did the climate adaptation assessment, because originally it wasn't scoped to include considerations for sea level rise vulnerabilities. And we thought, before we invest all this money in multimodal improvements in any roadway, it's already, has some vulnerabilities to sea level rise, and obviously would be over the life of a roadway, which is, 25 plus years. So we thought it was best to come back to council and consider adding that component in with the multimodal improvements. So that's coming to council. And then separately, there was a lot of discussion about electrical undergrounding on Christmas Tree Hill. And, we've had some dialogues with PG&E and kind of done some initial analysis, although I know a more wide scale analysis is coming up. But really what's pretty evident if you look at the lack of redundant roadways is at the bottom, everything funnels down to Redwood Avenue. And so, there's an opportunity there to underground that very lower portion to avoid the situation that could occur where an electrical power line goes down and there is no way off the hill. And so by addressing kind of that critical portion of roadway that has no other access, we at least have one, ingress egress at all times. And so that's another item that we're hoping to establish an undergrounding district for that section of roadway.
That is great, man. That's a lot of good stuff coming out of Public Works. So thank you guys. You guys are really putting the pedal to the metal there. That's awesome. And I know that residents, especially over on the east side, are really excited about the sidewalk widening program and also the eventual repaving of Paradise that's going to come at some point after that. So just huge thanks. I think folks are really appreciative. Any other updates from staff here before we open up for questions? Yeah, Adam.
Thanks. Hey, everyone. Just a couple of things. One is I wanted to let everybody know that we opened up for in-person appointments at the planning building and public works counter downstairs. So that's a big, we actually opened up for, I think, for a couple of weeks in November before things got worse again during COVID and closed down. So it is, I think, a really valuable resource. Some people really, I think we're able to communicate more effectively with some of our residents over just a in-person sort of chat. And we're doing that through a appointment-based system. So on our website, there's a, on the building department page, I think it's actually more widely, I'll try to get something, maybe we're doing chat here. I'll probably put something in the chat here as the meeting goes on, but I'll put a link to where you can access the appointments calendars. And right now we're sort of on a limited basis, but I think we're gonna wait and see what the demand is for these before opening it up further. But it's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with 3 slots on each day at 8:30 a.m., 9:30 a.m., and 10:30 a.m. The Thursday appointments will be attended and be available for our building official who can answer questions at that time as well. So it's really trying to, open up in some capacity and return to some normalcy now that we're able to do so. And so that's great. Wanted to let everyone know about that. And then also we are just now this week, we've starting to implement our new permit tracking software. Again, that would be for all the permits that the town's planning, building, and public works department sort of review and process and then issue. And right now, this is sort of, we're in a learning, or we have a lot of learning to do and a lot of sort of transition to do into that new system. So we're asking for some patience. I think more, I think this is going to be in a few weeks' time. We're actually going to have a public portal, which will just, I think, dramatically change the way that we're communicating information on permits to all of our customers who are, applicants, our building industry, our residents, and so on. And it's going to be really easy to search and find out information on status, and even apply online, and do all sort of a lot more functionality with our permit processing through this this new system. So we'll definitely have to put out some new some information about that and instructions, and educate members of our community about it. But I think we're gonna see some changes there. So be on the lookout for that. And then the last thing, I guess, just there is a relatively significant construction project starting, private residential development over on Paradise and Robin Drive. So that's actually just got underway really yesterday and today, with some significant construction equipment, and we're going to see a new housing development with 16 new single family homes, with half of them eight accessory dwelling units built into them. So sort of a unique project, but one I think was approved back in 2019. Now that's just shows you how long it gets to before they were able to sort of start, given the pandemic and whatnot. So
great, thank you, Adam. That's awesome to hear, and glad to hear that that new software is phasing in. Yeah, Todd.
Yeah, just a couple updates, I thought it was just a really nice event. And as you said, boss, on Sunday, we had a memorial for Clyde Marcourt. We lost some great ones this past year in our community, and this was the first kind of public recognition and, kind of celebration of all that they've accomplished here in town. And I think we have many more to go moving forward to really celebrate those that we lost this past year. But I thought it was a nice event. The Public Works Maintenance team, RJ, did an outstanding job of making it special for everybody. And so please thank your staff, and specifically Vernon Santos. We really appreciate that. We talked about it at the last community chat, but we've started the concerts in the pavilion behind me. It's been very successful. People have been sending us a lot of photos of the last two events. It's well attended. I'm going to bring my kids at the next one. I think we have the Corte Madera band that'll be there, and so we're excited to see that. It's nice to get back to normal. On the 4th of July, Rochelle and Rebecca and the team have been coordinating with some business owners to put on, just to help have something nice in our community. And so we're going to start to advertise that at the end of this week. Up at the pavilion, we're gonna we're kind of assisting, but Zinn's Bar and others, with the help of the Corte Madera, I think the foundation is helping a little bit, but the Lions Club is taking the lead. We're gonna have drink, food, a band, and it's going to be from 12 to 6 on the 4th of July. And so please come enjoy that. And then we're also going to advertise and try to get people to enjoy our town park. The Corte Madera band will be there as well for a couple hours. And then Cafe Verde is also going to have food and a band same time, and so is Town Center. So we're going to, through the Chamber of Commerce, the city of Larkspur, and the town of Corte Madera, and with the help of Park and Rec, we're gonna advertise this starting the end of the week, so everyone knows all the events going on in our area, and just to get out and get back to some normalcy. So we're really excited about that. And then one other thing, we had a really good meeting with PG&E today with the help of our consultant on our data request. We submitted a pretty extensive data request to PG&E. It's a follow-up to what RJ was talking about with the climate adaptation assessment, of really trying to understand the age, the vulnerabilities of the current PG&E system. And based on that data, and then on our 3 high-risk neighborhoods, to identify those high-risk areas by priority and potentially by project. So instead of looking at it in its totality of like, look, this is a $60-70 million undergrounding project, we're really using data and information to prioritize projects to position the town to keep us as safe as possible, moving forward. And so we're still a few months away from actually having a draft report, but it was a really good meeting, and our consultant should have everything he needs to evaluate and do his thing in the next couple of weeks. And so please look out for that. We'll give updates as we go. And with that, I will stop there.
Great, thanks, Todd. Any other updates from staff here? And Mike, did you have anything you wanted to share?
I had another productive meeting this morning with home key representatives, and just a heads up that in September, by September, the county intends to do significant remodels and add the kitchenettes to the 18 units there. And the transitional residents who are living there right now, they're going to move out elsewhere, and then they're going to bring, once the construction is complete, it should be about a 3 to 6 month project total. They're going to have permanent supportive housing individuals. So those are going to be people who are going to be there for more long periods of time. Right now, it's been somewhat of a revolving door as just to, as urgency issues have arisen. So just that's the update I have, at least from that. And maybe Adam can add more to that if there is more to add, but it's just more of a general update at this point.
Great, thank you so much, Mike. That is really good to hear. Do we know by any chance, are we expecting some of the folks that are there on a temporary basis right now to come back once it's transitioned to permanent, or do we think it's going to be a new class of folks?
I really don't have the information to answer that question.
Okay.
I did ask it today. I got the impression that it would be a completely new group of individuals who are seeking long-term housing, but I don't want to misspeak. And but I did get the impression that we would have an influx of new individuals.
Cool. Okay, great. Thank you. I think it's going to be really nice once that transitions to permanent supportive housing, and then I think that's when the new folks that come in are going to be really more like permanent members of the community, which I think is going to be nice for everybody.
Yeah, in the next month, we're going to be hosting and collaboratively sharing a meeting with the community members about some visual concepts on this exterior remodel, and so we're still trying to solidify those dates. And but as soon as we have those, we'll put it out there. We want to get some community input and just feed those to the architects and the members of the county who are doing the redesign of the exterior building.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's been something that we heard from the early on last fall, was that there should be some efforts to improve the site, the exterior of the site, not only for the residents who are going to live there and make it more residential in character, but also aesthetically for people who drive by there every day. And it's not a great it's not visually pleasing at this time, but I think we saw some preliminary stuff. And to the county's credit, they did really pull through and hired an architect and a landscape architect and spent some money to really start to develop some concepts. And then that is what we want to really show more broadly to community residents and get some input and feedback on the direction that the county's thinking about for that. So I think that's exciting progress there. And then the other thing, I don't know if it's 100% official at this point, but all indications are pointing to that actually when it is permanent supportive housing, it will be run by Homeward Bound. But it hasn't, the counties have to go through a process to really formalize that. But I know that was sort of one of the things that I think we also, as residents, knowing that they were running sort of the King Street property in Larkspur and are really Marin based, that was being pushed for, knowing that they've done good work elsewhere in the county, and so that's looking like good news as well on that front. So.
Great, thank you. And I want to thank our town staff and also the county staff and the nonprofit folks that have been doing a fantastic job running that project, managing that project. A couple of your guys' comments reminded me of two other things I wanted to add. One, first, kind of a feel-good item. We got an email from Opening Doors Marin, which is one of the nonprofit groups that works on homelessness issues within the county and has been involved with our Home Key project, letting us know that Marin County is actually more than halfway towards ending chronic homelessness among veterans and among families, which I think are two key groups. I had no sense of how wildly successful, not just Project Home Key, but all of the efforts among, various cities, the county, and nonprofits have been in the last several years. And I think that's a really impressive milestone. And I think it shows that what we're doing is working. So that's very exciting. The other thing I want to add that's a little more serious is I felt like, you know, we obviously just came out of a pretty intense heat wave, and we've got some wind going on right now. You know, it's already you know, high fire season, and I felt like we had a few you know, a few kind of near misses with small wildfires around the county over the last several weeks. And I reached out to Chief Martin because I was just curious how these things start, because I felt like I never have a sense of, you know, we saw the lightning complex that was started by that crazy lightning storm, you know, last fall or whenever it was. But I never feel like I know, you know, how many of these fires are started by natural causes and how many are started by, you know, people doing things they shouldn't be doing. So I reached out to Chief Martin and asked, and he let me know that of those, I think 4 recent small wildfires that we had, one was started by somebody who was barbecuing and chucked their coals over the retaining wall into open space. One was started by somebody who parked their car on, you know, dry, dead grass with a hot catalytic converter, and it ignited the grass. And one they believe was started by a cigarette thrown out the window of a moving car. And I don't say this to shame anybody, but I say this because it's really important, I think, for us to keep in mind that a lot of the time these fires are not coming out of nowhere. They're coming from people doing, you know, I would say stupid. I think careless might be a nicer word, but they come from people doing things that they should not be doing. We need to be better than this. We need to be smarter than this. I think we all know better at this point than to be exhibiting these types of behaviors. I mean, you know, we know everybody on the line here, and I know that I'm preaching to the choir here. But I just think it's an important message that we have to get out as best we can. That, you know, I shared this information with my friends, and several of them said, wow, I would have never guessed that parking my car on, like, you know, dead grass could actually be a fire hazard. So, you know, I think tossing the coals over the fence is a no-brainer, but I think there's risky behavior that some of us undertake sometimes without even realizing that it could be a fire hazard. So I think, you know, it just speaks to the fact that what we really need to do when it's fire season here in California is just think twice before you do anything that could, you know, could have a risk of any sort of ignition, because it only takes, you know, one mistake to potentially unleash a tragedy. And I think we're really lucky that local fire departments were able to nip these fires in the bud, but we're not going to be that lucky forever. So, you know, every fire season is a roll of the dice. So I just wanted to get that message out there and thank Chief Martin and his department and all the other first responders countywide for the incredible work they've done keeping us safe up until this point. So with that, you guys have all been very patient. Thank you. So we're going to open it up to the public now for any questions that you guys may have or anything you want to chat about. So go ahead and just raise your hand on Zoom if there's anything you want to discuss, and we'll be happy to bring you on. And we're going to start with Lucinda.
Thank you, Mayor Beckman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I did have a couple of questions and comments. We have picked up, for Chief Martin, we have picked up the door hangers for our NRG group and are in the process of distributing them, and are going to try, everybody's still figuring out exactly what we need to tell neighbors, because I was confused when they came out, because we have the OK Help sign that goes with our NRG. Well, that really, I guess, belongs with any kind of situation that's caused by earthquakes. And the door hangers are really fire related. So, I mean, I think we've got a couple things going, and we need to tell people about that so that there's not confusion. And then I had a question for RJ and Todd, possibly, with regard to the undergrounding of the electrical lines by PG&E. I only heard Chapman Park, Christmas Tree Hill mentioned. Chapman Park was not mentioned. And I wonder if Chapman Park neighbors could be included in some of those discussions, not trying to make it a $60-70 million deal, but I'd like to see if we can get some kind of process that we're included too, because we have very, very similar situation with regard to Christmas Tree Hill. Should I stop?
Yeah. So I'm happy, Lucinda, to take the second part of that. So yes, Chapman Park is absolutely, we were talking about two things. There's a specific undergrounding immediate project to secure some monies, or we could potentially lose it. And we've identified kind of the highest risk area, this 1,000 kind of foot area that RJ talked about. So that's one. The second piece is on the big picture PG&E analysis, Chapman Park is absolutely one of the neighborhoods being evaluated identifying the system, the any vulnerabilities, and really prioritizing. So that would be a report that we would take to council. There'll be public feedback, and we would walk through this report and prioritize as a community, ultimately the council, potential priorities of undergrounding moving forward. So there'll be a pretty extensive process to that discussion, Lucinda.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if I could elaborate on, what Todd touched on about the 20A program. So PG&E is considering possibly either sunsetting that program or going away from that program. And so we've had many years of PG&E credits kind of saved up, and we want to, with the intention of using them someday. And because as of this moment, we don't have an approved undergrounding district, that puts us at risk of losing those funds. And so what we talked about internally was, well, we don't want that to happen. If there was one area that seemed like an obvious choice to do an undergrounding district, where is it? And that's where we arrived based on what info we have, and prior to this more comprehensive analysis was at the base of Christmas Tree Hill. And so that's what we're taking to council to approve this district, so that we don't lose the funds, they don't get grabbed from under us. And it buys us a little time. We can await the analysis, and we can further develop this, potentially later in the year and start it then, but it just saves us from losing those funds, which otherwise could be yanked from our hands pretty quickly.
Thank you. That's good news. And then Todd, I wondered if there's been any further conversations from the county with regard to the Delta variant for COVID, and if we're concerned. I know we're really well along the vaccination line, but it's a concern, and I was wondering if the county is involved with any further discussions with regard to the Delta variant.
Yeah, and Ruben may, or Rebecca, if you've heard anything, please jump in. But my understanding to some of our updates that we received from the county, and that we've actually heard from the CDC, is that our current vaccines actually are responding very well to the Delta variants at a really high level, especially with the Moderna and Pfizer vaccination. So, so far so good, according to our county health officials.
That's exactly the same thing we've been hearing as well, Todd. At least the reports that we're getting on the medical side is the message, I guess, is out there is, if you haven't been vaccinated, please get vaccinated, because it'll help you with all the strains that are out there and the different variants.
What
Great,
is the
thank you.
percentage that we have from a town perspective? Do you know?
I don't know from a town perspective, but I can tell you that from the county's meeting yesterday, they said that 90% of Marin County residents who are eligible, 12 and up, are vaccinated, and that's at least one vaccine. So some of the younger generations, they're getting their second one scheduled here shortly. But Marin County has one of the highest percentages of vaccination in the state.
I believe on that we're number one in the state. Actually, we were as of last week. Yeah.
Congratulations to us. Really?
Yeah, I mean, 90% is pretty dang impressive. I'm going to call for other hands up if anybody wants to, but I also wanted to just go back to a good point that Lucinda brought up about the Lucinda. I think when you said door hangers, was that the evacuation tags?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because I was thinking about that too. I think these are all really useful tools, the evacuation tag, the OK or help signs and things like that. But it does, I think, become a little bit confusing to folks who we don't necessarily know or aren't taught exactly what the distinction between these tools are, when to use them. So I thought that was a really good point. I'd love to hear a little bit from Ruben on that.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Beckman. So your OK signs are basically designed, say if we had an earthquake or a flood or something, and you're actually sheltering in place, that's where you want to put your OK sign up, letting first responders and your neighbors know that you're fine, you don't need medical attention, and so forth. Your evacuated door tags or signs that you recently acquired are if you are told to evacuate your residence. So primarily during a wildland fire is when we're going to be using them.
Great, that's really helpful, Ruben. Thanks. That gives me a a nice concise way to think about it is the evacuation tag is for if you go, the help okay is for if there's a disaster where you stay.
Correct.
That's great. Thank you. Lucinda, did that answer all your questions for now?
Yes, but I don't want, I mean, I've got a couple more questions, but that I want you to let other people speak too.
Sounds good. I'm sure we'll have time, so we'll come back to you.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks. And we're gonna go to Susie next.
Hi there, Ruben.
Hello.
For that, I was going to comment on what Lucinda was worried about with those signs. I think it's also the NRGs, the individual NRGs will jump in on this and assist in making it clear. It's sort of like Alert, Moran, and Nexel. You kind of have to get some clarity on it, but it's very clear that one is for evacuation and one is for personal well-being, I guess you'd sort of say. So the NRG will do that in our NRG for sure. One thing that came to my mind when Adam was talking about the new software, and that is that I hope that we never lose track of the ability to have personal interaction with people. Because it's happening already in a lot of venues. I'm sure you've all had experiences with this. It's just awful when you can't get a hold of a person, when you need to express yourself, or when something goes wrong. And so I just hope that will always be the bottom line. I do think that we've noticed a little bit of that feeling this year, because you all have been unavailable to us because of COVID. And now the things still aren't quite open yet. And there's just nothing like that personal contact. You're helping a lot by having these meetings, but only this handful of us attend. You poor people, you always see the same one of us here all the time. But really, losing that, you can't lose that contact. I just, it will be a really tough thing if that happens. So. And I talked to Rebecca about something else today, and I don't know, Rebecca, should I talk about it now or should we bring it up later? The signage over here.
Yes, Susie, you can bring it up now. I did send an email off. I don't know if Tom had a chance to look at it, but I explained your proposal.
Oh, okay.
Be a good time to talk about it.
Well, just briefly, I think some of you know that I was a proponent of a banner sign over here in east side of Corte Madera, and we had, Todd knows about it, and Adam knows, or RJ knows about it. And the sign was up for a while. This is one of those signs that's used in various parts of the community in order to advertise things like Oktoberfest and, you know, the spring concert, I mean, the summer concerts and all those things. And East Corte Madera did not have a sign ever. And so we did finally get one, and then it had to be removed because of the work that's going on in the village right now. And I completely understand that. I got wind that they may not want another one up, but I wondering if we can possibly work on that together. I've been searching for another location because I understand a little bit of how they want it to look beautiful over there. Either that, or we could make a beautiful sign of a nice frame, you know, instead of just that awful PVC pipe. I think the one that was there was pretty temporary. And, but the location was so good that if indeed there's any chance of having maybe a nice sign there, and, you know, it would be something that I would really like to see us work on. The east side doesn't see the spring concert, the summer concert sign right now. They see nothing over here. So I know communication is really one of the major things that the town wants to do. And this is an ideal, you know, way to continue to communicate. And maybe if we talked to Stan and got something attractive over there, it would be a whole other way of looking at it. So I would be happy to work with anybody who's, you know, who wants to, you know, help with this. So that's all for now. Or your comments on the sign. RJ has something, but I
Yeah,
think
I was just gonna say that hopefully I'm not frozen. I did speak to Stan, and the sign is gonna go back, and I actually did clarify that it's actually in our town right away, and kind of explained that all to him. So as far as I'm concerned, it's coming back as soon as, you know, they're reasonably done.
Oh my
And then-
goodness. Okay. Well, I hope
Yeah.
Stan's not mad at anybody. I mean, I
Well
want to work
stated,
with,
Jose.
you know, but maybe we could make it more attractive this time. Let's not put up a PVC pipe thing that's going to blow over in the wind. Let's get some kind of a frame and maybe even talk about doing something that's like really nice. So that's what I would love to see there. Thank
Susie, I think
you.
that's
Thanks,
an awesome
RJ.
idea.
I had no idea. That's great. Well, thank you so much.
And I would just say on the first point, we certainly all like to communicate in person as well. And our permit center is a central component of the new town hall project, which will be, you know, a modern, greatly expanded and sort of more comfortable experience for people who wanting to come down and talk to staff directly. So that's I think shows that's
Right.
intended to be a long-term commitment to that with that project.
Yeah, that's great. And I kind of feel the same way about the rec department. You know, we used to always be in there and always seeing everybody at the rec department. And there's so many new people there. I mean, people don't even know who any of us are. We used to have keys to the joint, you know, we want to feel that. I want to feel that family with everybody. It's so what makes this town what it is. So I hope that we can somehow do that. So
Yeah, so Susie, I just want to, that's been our emphasis. I think just for all of our mental health, as we talk about with our residents, it's the same thing with the employees. We're dying to get back to normalcy and see each other. I'll tell you, coming out of COVID, you'll see more staff members. We're rebuilding the recreation department right now, trying to add, you know, get to full staffing, actually have more staffing than we've had in the past, because we really want to go attack it and provide those services. Open our community center. We're close. We're working with county health. We still have to do some kind of deep cleaning coming out of COVID. We haven't done that. And we have to meet some requirements, Cal OSHA requirements to do that, but we're getting really close and we're making our best effort. And then to your point on customer service. So the town of Corte Madera, we provide a service. We're in the service business. And so it's all about customer service. So unlike when you go to the restaurant and you're trying to have a restaurant experience, you've seen the technology. You know, now you're ordering on your phone and then you're getting your food and then you're paying, and there's no like that experience of the dining experience we all enjoy. It's a lot of people are going away from it. Well, we're not. We're using technology on the business permitting side, especially, and then with our town budget where it's interactive. You can go online and you can track, because you know there's 5 departments that potentially touch a business, or I'm sorry, an application, and so you can follow and see where it is in the process, and you know who to talk to. But we absolutely are going to have that public interface. That's really important to us. And I think we're going to come out of COVID even better.
I bet we are. That's great. Well, thank you. And I mean, I'm all for the software. I think it's great. I just don't want to lose the other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, yeah, in my conversations with Stan, there was never any tension or anything. It was just a conversation about, hey, you know, what happened to the sign? He's like, oh, we took it down temporarily. And I said, well, okay,
put it up.
That needs to go back, right? When you're done. He's like, yeah, but explain how that works. And I said, well, you know, the right away actually goes further behind the sidewalk than you think. And we talked about it. So.
Oh, good. That's great. Thanks so much.
Yep.
That's good.
Great. Thank you, Susie. Good points.
Thanks, everybody.
And you're very welcome. RJ, I'm glad to hear that's going back up. I thought that was a fantastic location for that thing. And I agree, Susie, with your point, by the way, about, you know, I think maybe there could be a little volunteer project there to design and build something a little nicer than just a PVC or metal pipe frame. So let's chat with our civically minded residents and see what they say. Great. Thank you. We don't have any other hands up right now except Lucinda, so we will definitely come back to her, but I just wanted to give a chance for anybody else who hasn't gotten to speak yet to do so. So if you haven't got a chance to speak and wanted to, please go ahead and raise your hand. And I'm not seeing any go up, so we're going to come back to Lucinda for the rest of her questions.
Thank you. I wondered if you could give a Zone Haven status update. I know that it's been mentioned, but I just don't know quite where it stands, and I was interested. Thank you.
Sure. Zone Haven it's the evacuation platform that the entire county is going to, is we're having a PIO kickoff meeting on the 28th that where we're gonna, all the PIOs within the county are getting together so we can have one consistent message. And then we're gonna launch a get to know your zone campaign shortly thereafter. So by the end of the month for sure, it should be coming up live.
Great, thank you. And my last question was kind of an update on the home key. So I think that might be back to Mike Moriarty. I know at the beginning there was a lot of concern about the crime, and I wondered what crime statistics have developed with regard or connected to home key. And I understand from our previous conversations here that it was a temporary group, but I thought that might give some idea as to whether it was a concern or whether it was just a concern that didn't ever materialize, which I hope the latter is the case.
That's a good question. So there has been some incidents with some of the residents at Home Key. CMPA has made contacts with some of the residents, not so much at the facility, but around town, including up to arrests. I don't have the actual statistics and calls for service at the facility right now. I will tell you that there have been several mental health evaluations and medical aid calls. There haven't been any violent crimes or any crime statistics at the location. So there have been arrests in town by some of the occupants, and that's pretty much all I have to share at this moment. We are hoping, though, that with more permanent status residents, that there'll be some more ownership to our town, and will eliminate some of those concerns as well.
Mike, were you aware, or is there any going to be town involvement in the selection of those folks that are going to be our permanent residents?
We have the town has absolutely zero authority or control over who they select. It's called coordinated entry. It's a state and federal process by which the county collects and distributes vouchers for homelessness. And unfortunately, we have zero say in this. I will tell you that there was an incident involving one of the residents recently, and the town took a real aggressive stance that we do not want. We want them to enforce the rules of conduct at their facility, and they've exited this individual.
And I'd like to jump in and just share my perspective, if I could, Lucinda, because I think it's a really important question that I think goes to the core of concerns that residents had about this program, and the discussion that we had last winter while this was being discussed. And I think two things that are important to keep in mind are that, one, the small amount of incidents that we have had have been handled very swiftly, very discreetly, and very professionally by town staff, by law enforcement, by county officials, and by the nonprofit folks running this program. So that, that to me, as somebody who's keeping a very close eye on this to make sure that it's not something that's going to eventually metastasize into, having a negative impact on the community, that's been very reassuring to me to see how, when these few isolated incidents pop up from time to time, they're very swiftly dealt with. We saw, for example, this one more serious case that individual was removed from the facility promptly. And I think that's exactly what we expected, what we asked of the county when they were proposing this project. And so I'm glad to see that they're following through on that. The other thing that I just wanted to mention, because I think it's important for us to keep this in mind, a lot of times these are folks who were in our community anyways, right? Whether they're housed or whether they're unhoused. So from a crime perspective, it doesn't, mentally ill, for example, let's say a mentally ill person who's disturbed and is not getting treatment and lives in Corte Madera, they're no more or less likely to commit a crime if they're in housing versus if they're living, in a tent on the hillside above the library or anything like that. So I think that's the other thing that's important to keep in mind, right? Is that, we've had homeless folks in Corte Madera for years going back, that Home Key did not bring them here. A lot of times these are not individuals who are new to us. They're individuals who are known to town and county officials. And so I think that's just an important thing to keep in mind, right? Is that we're not like importing crime or importing unstable individuals to Corte Madera. These are folks who are already here, and this project, giving them shelter, is not making them any more likely to commit crime. So I just think that's an important thing to keep in mind. That's kind of the something that I've been thinking about as we watch how the project evolves. And again, I've been really pleased and reassured to see how few incidents there have been and how quickly and discreetly they've been dealt with by our first responders.
Thank you. I think that's important. And I just know that there were a lot of folks over there that were very worried about this. So it's nice.
Absolutely.
To know that. And
Right.
I would think with the mental health available to the residents there, and I would think that would make it easier and reduce possibilities for difficulty, because they're right there and available. Whereas if they're homeless in a tent somewhere, they have to go and seek the assistance. So hopefully that will improve, even for the whole town.
Yeah, great point, Lucinda. I certainly am expecting, the very low level of incidence that we have to get even lower once this transitions to permanent supportive housing, where we have support services on site. And great point to what you said about the fact that we had residents who are very concerned about this type of thing potentially happening. And that's why I think it's so important that we be very transparent about, acknowledging when things happen, dealing with them promptly, and making sure that we're openly discussing them with the community, because I think that's the only way to move forward in a way where everybody feels safe and everybody's able to have that trust, in their safety, and that everything is going to be dealt with appropriately. So great point.
Thank you.
And was that all, Lucinda?
Yeah, I just think that, if we can show a good example as to the improvements that have made and how people have been helped, it's going to go a long way for other communities to be able to buy into this kind of an arrangement.
Right.
Is Open Door going to be the ongoing manager, or is it going to be Catholic Charities? I was a little confused on that point.
That I think is a Mike or an Adam question.
Opening Doors is actually just sort of a organization that helps facilitate conversations and solutions.
More of an advocate.
Yeah, an advocacy for homeless housing. Catholic Charities is the current operator, and the expectation is that Homeward Bound will take over for Catholic Charities once this transitions, after the construction, and once this transitions to a permanent supportive housing model.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Lucinda. We've got a couple more hands up, so we're gonna go to Phyllis next, and then Patty.
Thank you, Eli. My question was, when the person or persons were arrested in Corte Madera, were they able to go back to the housing, or was that enough to get them moved out of that housing? Did they lose it because of that?
They lost it because of that. They did not go back to the housing.
Good, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Phyllis. And we're going to go to Patty next.
Thank you, Eli. A couple questions for Rochelle. Do you have any idea when on the horizon we might start to see the senior lunches, the congregate lunches again? And what is the response to the rec survey been like? Are you seeing a lot of participation, and have you been reviewing the answers?
Thank you. We just actually talked about this at our staff meeting today. One of our staff has reached out to the senior lunch congregate meal people to see when they're going to be positioned to come back. We've had the Department of Public Health out to do an inspection of the kitchen, and everything's fine. We just need to get some more food handlers and food servers certified. But also they have to be ready to bring the program back. So we're working with them. Hopefully we're going to be starting that back up in the fall. That's kind of what it's looking like right now, based on what I've heard so far. And your other question, sorry.
The survey.
Oh, the survey. So I actually have had no access to the survey at all. I don't know how many things are coming back, and I don't have anything to do with that part of it. So I can't really answer anything about whether people are doing it or not. I know that every time we communicate something out, we have a little tagline about, make sure you fill out your survey. And as well as when we talk to people who are signing up for other programs that we're doing this summer, we definitely are trying to get people to complete the survey, but as to what's happened and how many, I don't know that information.
And I also had been complaining last year about the condition of the tables in the park. Did those get refinished or replaced where it was all totally destroyed, the picnic tables in the park?
So I know several have. I haven't gone to all of them. We did refinish the ones over at Skunk Hollow, and I think we did a couple at Town Park, but I'm not certain. I'll have to check on that. But it's definitely part of the plan. We had some kind of salvage material, and then it's also, as we have time, those are the extra time with our crew. That's where we do those kind of TLC projects.
I feel like I've seen a few in Town Park. I know I can point to a few in the median between Pixley and the parking lot, and also between Tamalpais and the skate park. There's some in that little hollow there that are the new nice rebuilt ones. I don't know how many for sure, but I know I've seen several.
Excellent. I'll have to go take a tour. And Rebecca, I wanted to thank the town for the participation in the mask project. Are we still putting masks out there with Lions Help, or are we
We
our
have
hands?
not been since the guidelines changed June 15th, but if there's interest in it, we can continue it. Dan Schuster is willing to keep putting masks out there as long as there's an interest in them. But since the guidelines weren't to wear masks in the park when you're outdoors and away from people, we hadn't been doing them for the past 2 weeks.
Well, thank you for supplying them to the Lions. That was great.
Thank you for the idea. And we did tally up the number of boxes we provided to the Lions Club. So we'll have an idea of the impact that we had in terms of masks provided. And it's quite significant.
Excellent. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
I think he was asking for another batch of 500. So they were definitely getting used.
Perfect.
Great. Thank you, Patty. And we do not have any other hands up right now, so we'll just make a last call here. Otherwise, we can end a few minutes early. So if anybody has any last thoughts they want to share, just go ahead and throw your hand up and we'll bring you on. We have, looks like a parting thought from Lucinda, so we're going to bring her back on.
Give me an inch and I'll take a mile. But I did want to thank everybody who has joined in on these calls. I wish more of the citizenry would participate in them because I think they would find them very helpful, very interesting. And I just can't tell you how much I appreciate the time you all have given to those of us who do come onto it, and just know that we few do appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucinda. And I'll just, I'll make another plea to anybody on the line. Please, if you've got any great ideas for how to publicize these things, let us know, because that's always, we love turnout. So thank you, Lucinda. We just got a couple last minute hands. So we're gonna go to Martha, and then, oh, one hand went down. We'll go back to Phyllis again if she has another question.
Hi, Mayor Beckman. Thanks for taking my call. I'm wondering, I know this chat with Mayor and the town council started because of COVID. And I was just wondering, is it gonna continue even if there's change even if this, the county is totally, for the most part open? Is it gonna continue every second and fourth Tuesdays of the month?
Martha, so I am the mayor until I think probably like early December. So I'll certainly plan on continuing these for as long as I'm the mayor, regardless of the COVID situation. And then I think it'll be, when we reorganize in December, it'll probably be the next mayor's decision as to whether this is something that they'd like to continue. But from what I've heard, just talking informally with staff and fellow council members, I think we're all in agreement that this has been a really successful and valuable opportunity for residents to connect with staff and council members outside of the rigid formal kind of rules of a council meeting.
All right, great. That's good to hear. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for joining us. All right, we've got a few minutes left here. We're gonna go to Phyllis and then Becky.
Hi, I really am kind of piggybacking on Lucinda because I want to thank you all. Thank you, Eli, and whoever came up with this idea. Thank you so much. It is extremely valuable. And we get to see all the department heads and ask you questions or give you praise or, get what information that's going on that we wouldn't get really any other way. And not always in the council meetings did we get to hear from, well, Ruben and RJ, Adam's more there, but anyway, appreciate this so much. So thanks to you and Todd and everybody else who gives your time for these meetings.
Thank you very much, Phyllis. And we certainly appreciate as well all the residents who get involved and participate. And I think our last comment of the day is going to be from Becky.
Hi, I'm sure you know this already, but I always figure a factor of 20 or 30 people that I talk to who I answer questions about what I hear on here. So for every person on here, I'd say give it a factor of 50 of how many people in town are hearing what you guys are saying. So thank you.
That is a great point. Thank you. The network effect there. And we certainly, I think all of us really appreciate the residents who make an effort to, stay abreast of what the town is doing and help us spread the word. So thank you guys to all of you. And I'm not seeing any other hands up. So we'll just close with one last thank you to all the residents who took the time to join us today with your questions and comments, and a huge thank you to all of our department heads for joining us. I know you guys are incredibly busy, so it means a lot that you take an hour out of your Tuesday to come join us and chat with us and answer questions. So we really appreciate it. All righty, everybody, take care and we'll talk soon.